Welcome to the Grow Strong Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Meredith Bell, and I interview business leaders who are committed to their own growth and the development of everyone on their team. If you enjoy my podcast, be sure to subscribe and rate it on your favorite podcast platform. Welcome back to another episode of the Grow Strong Leaders podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have as my guest, Danielle Fette. Danielle, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me.
I want to give a big shout out to our mutual friend and colleague, Ben Albert, because he's the one, after he was a guest on my show, he's the one that introduced us and said, oh, you must meet Danielle. And you and I had just hit it off in our initial conversation, and I've been looking forward to our time together today ever since. Let me tell my audience a little bit more about you. Danielle is co-founder and CEO of Fette. She's deeply passionate about transforming lives through groundbreaking advancements in regenerative medicine. She's dedicated her career to developing innovative, FDA-cleared medical devices that empower the body to heal naturally and to address some of the world's most catastrophic injuries, diseases, and viruses. Danielle is also a leader who believes in putting people first. And that was one of the things that just drew me to you, Danielle, that focus. And putting people first includes those on her team as well as those her company serves. I know you're going to find our conversation today fascinating. So, Danielle, let's start briefly about your journey into medicine and how that transitioned into the work you're doing today.
Well, I've always been obsessed with medicine from the time I was very little. Anytime someone got hurt or injured, I would run and be the girl that wanted to help them, where other kids, if there was vomit or blood, would sprint the other direction. And I just knew it was true to my passion and purpose in life because no one else in my family came from the health field.
Mm.
So it was deep within me. But I struggled in school. Reading and writing is really challenging. I'm dyslexic. And so I grew up with a lot of shame and a lot of feeling embarrassed and had to get really clever to mask my insecurities in the classroom. So I couldn't really advertise. One day I want to go to medical school because even deep within my soul, I'm like, oh, I can't take a test. How am I going to go to medical school? But I was a very good athlete and got into college for sports and then talked my way into a nursing program. And I just have the attitude, like, where there's a will, there's a way. Like, get creative and figure it out. I was born that way. And I think having dyslexia forced me to have to be very creative in my approach to life. I got into medical. So I finished my nursing degree, and then I got in, and I always loved burns, trauma, surgery. I got in with a medical device company where I was a big Fortune 500 company that's very well known. And I was in the OR educating them clinically so doctors would learn from me about new technology. So after you graduate med school, the way to keep up is through reps educating you and showing you how to use products. But, you know, I early on realized the difference between good and bad leaders and what I liked and disliked about being an employee. And I job hopped quite a bit because I wasn't satisfied. I felt like I couldn't really use my creative juices. I had a bigger purpose in the world. And after about 15 years of being in the industry, very frustrated from being employed by the Fortune 500 and also the startup, it was kind of like the same thing, new company, same headaches with leadership and management and the way the employees felt. And I was very blessed. I met my husband who knew every part of the medical device industry that I didn't know and vice versa. So he's an engineer and he would invent the products and develop the products that my teams would introduce to the doctors after they were FDA cleared. And the two of us together were like, well, we're like the dream team because anything he didn't know, I knew, and vice versa, like the yin to the yang. And we have very different, strong, unique skill sets, but we see the world the same. So our morals and values are aligned. And we had a falling out with a company that we were very loyal to. And we said to ourselves, you know what? Things happen for a reason. We're going to do it ourselves. We are so sick of answering to a board. And in medicine and medical device, pharmaceutical, everything is driven by the bottom line, by the revenue. And these are patients' lives. Like we're all going to be patients one day. So how can these companies lose sight of that? And if the product is really that good and speaks for itself, the money will be there. The companies need to do the right thing. So we left on really horrible terms. We were out of jobs. We formed Fette Tech, the company that we have now, and we're in the regenerative medicine space. So we invent products and get them FDA cleared to help patients heal naturally. And we have devices that are used in burn and trauma and surgery. And basically, the product recognizes injury and then it signals to your body how to heal differently and very quickly and very safely.
Mm.
And with the technology, we're just scratching the surface right now and exploring other therapeutic areas to help more people heal.
Would you give an example of an injury or situation where someone would be able to use your product? I would love to have myself to understand better and have my listeners understand better. How does this really work?
This morning, I got a call that someone had a breast lift and where the incision was opened up, and the patient has a wound that would not heal. The plastic surgeon said they thought they were going to have to take her back into the OR to surgically revise it because there was no other way to help it heal. But instead, they're going to use our product, and they'll put the powder or the gel. We have two different versions on the opening on the wound, and it will signal to the body to bring cells to the area, and the body will heal itself completely. So that's an example. When patients are in a fire, they use our product in the hospital, and it helps not only with the pain, but it will help regenerate the skin. So there's a lot of different ways that they're using our product, but that would be like the two easiest for the audience
Hmm.
to absorb.
Yeah,
But then I
thank
get the
you.
common questions. Like I was in the kitchen and I cut myself with an avocado and I sliced the tip of my finger off. And so patients will use it like that. Or, uh, chronic diabetic ulcer on their leg. The patient has poor blood flow. So they'll use it
Hmm.
and it will heal that. Or for myself, like I love really nice skin. I want my skin as healthy as possible for as long as I'm alive. Our skin is our biggest organ in our body. So I really work hard to take care of it. And I do laser resurfacing on my skin. It also helps decrease the risk of skin cancer, which I'm prone to get. And then after it's basically burning your face, I'll use Gel, which is our topical gel over it. And then it will help remodel and strengthen my skin.
Hmm. And your products are available through prescriptions, right?
Yes,
They're not over the
they're
counter.
correct. And that's one of the hardest challenges about my position. Like I'm the biggest patient advocate. If it was up to me, like I feel like I'm Tinkerbell and want to save the world with my magic powder, but I'll go to jail if I do so. So it has to have a script from a healthcare provider, and then we can ship the product either directly to the healthcare provider or directly to the patient.
Mm. Okay. Well, I will encourage people to visit your website. We'll have a link there if they'd like to learn more about what your product is. I want to shift a little bit and just get into your company and how you've built it, because I know one of the key things that you enjoy now about having your own company is the ability to move fast,
Yes.
and you're committed to staying lean. So talk about why those two matter, especially in your kind of business, and how does that work on a day-to-day basis?
We are always doing testing and studying, and we get the results back. And when you see that your product could potentially help people that have had nerve damage, and you could potentially help a patient that has spinal cord injury, it's like time's a ticking. That's someone's family, that's someone's loved one, their child. So we feel enormous pressure to do more faster. When we worked for other companies, there was so much red tape and corporate layers and meetings after meetings, and even to get a marketing brochure change took 6 months. My husband and I wanted to do things really differently. We decided to not get outside funding. We did not want to answer to a board. When you answer to board members, not only does it make things driven by money, not necessarily what's best for patients, but it also slows down the process because you have to get approval every step of the way in how you want to spend your money. So every decision my husband and I make, we say, what's going to help get this product to the patients that need them faster? And that's kind of what drives our decision making. So by only having 7, 8, 9 employees, with everyone on our team is incredible with very, very diverse skill sets, we know right away what we're good at and what we need to outsource to go to the experts very quickly. So we don't waste time trying to figure things out on our own. We know it, can we do this or do we need to outsource? Do we need attorney representative or do we need someone in regulatory or reimbursement help? But we don't have it in house because that allows us to just move a lot faster because we're not spending all day on meetings. And that's one of the things I could not stand at other companies. I'm like, we're sitting here talking about things and nothing is happening. And I feel like Groundhog's Day every day, meeting after meeting. And I'm like looking at the progress and I'm just not seeing it the way I wanted to.
Mhm. Now, I'm thinking about folks that work in companies where their products may not be as life-changing, as yours are, and yet I think we can all reflect on what you just said. How can we accelerate making decisions, getting things done? We may not have any control over certain elements, but there are things I bet all of us can do to be more efficient and possibly avoid having some of the meetings. What are some things that you do in communicating with your team members where you don't want to have a meeting with everybody, but you have things you need to communicate and things that need to get done?
Well, I think first it starts by hiring the right person that I can communicate with in the way I like to communicate. Everyone has different styles. So my style in leadership is the same as parenting. I'm an open book. I hire people that I trust. And when I say trust, it's not just morals and values, but I trust that person's ability to gauge and know when they need help and to ask for help and when they have the confidence to do it on their own. And that's a very special skill set. I think about this often. I have 7 very, very different personalities and complete opposite backgrounds that are on my team. But the one thing everything has is passion. I trust them. Like I trust that they're going to come to me. I can give them the independence because when they need me, they know I'm there and they appropriately will ask for help. And that's not something that I could always say working for other companies. A lot of times egos got involved. People were always trying to go up the corporate ladder, so they didn't want to admit when they were deficient or needed help. And to me, one of the sexiest, best qualities in someone is saying, I don't know, but this is where I need help, including doctors I work with. I mean, if a doctor isn't comfortable saying I need to consult in a colleague, that's not the doctor I want to go to because the biggest strength is knowing what you need help in. So going back to the communication style, I'm very open. If something's urgent, like right away, I'll text the group. If something's not as urgent, I'll email. And then I do like to have weekly meetings. Sometimes it's every 2 weeks where we just kind of collaborate and talk about ideas. So I'll send a very informal, I don't really prepare for these meetings. I kind of have a gist of, today I want to go through our top 5 priorities and get your feedback on how we can do things better with the website. I'm making this up. And I'll kind of throw that out there and everyone just kind of brainstorm, think about the website and think about this before and after page. And if there's any ideas that come to mind on how we can make it better. But I don't usually dictate. I usually get the group together because I love different point of views because that's what's so beautiful about doing things as a team. We can always improve, but I can't improve if it's just my idea. I need everyone on the team to contribute. So I try to create a really safe place that people can be honest with how they feel, speak up when they need help, and be really raw and honest because I can't handle the corporate games. And I don't think I worked for another company where there weren't tons of corporate games. And I found myself in trouble often because I would speak up. I would say what everyone else was too afraid to say.
Hmm. There's a couple different things that I'm thinking about as I was listening to you just then. And one of them is, what is it you do or say that helps people feel safe? Because that's such an issue in many organizations, that people don't feel safe to speak up. How do you create that safe space?
I'm a big believer in your actions are so much more valuable than your words. To me, talk is so cheap. So I have to exude what I want my people to be like. If I mess up all the time. I'm the first one to be like, oh, I messed up. I shouldn't have given that person your cell. I'm so sorry. And now they're bothering you. I learned a huge lesson. Next time, this is how I'm going to do things differently. And again, I do that in parenting too. I'm human. We're all going to fumble, but it's what we do about it and how we pivot. And I work really hard to be transparent with my team. If I'm having, I don't disclose everything behind the scenes. Like, I don't want to be distracting to them, but I also want to be really real. But for them to know, okay, Danielle right now is working on this and we trust that she's going to help us or fix it. Or so I would like to be resourceful. My team knows that there's nothing that I won't do for them, to back them, to defend them, to help them. Um, I'm also one that is willing to do anything, like clean the bathroom or, take an order over the phone. I think it's very important in leadership that you need to be able to dabble in all aspects of the business you're managing. A lot of leaders like really can't do all the different positions. And then like, what respect do you have for that person? Like, if you can do something better than your leader can in every aspect of their job, and they're there to micromanage you, but they don't really know what it's like to get out there and do what's expected of yourself, you don't really respect that person that much. So my team knows, I'm willing to do anything, but I'm also very wise in knowing what I'm good at, what I'm not. And then same with them. Like, I hate spreadsheets. I hate busy work, but I have someone that absolutely loves sitting at the computer doing spreadsheets and organizing for us. She loves it. She loves assisting in that way, and she loves being behind the radar. So I really try to delegate and tell my people, look, we're all going to do things we don't love to do at times, but really look at your workload and look at what lights you up, because what lights you up is the road you should be down. That's your purpose. That's what you're good at. If something's not lighting you up, we need to talk and say, okay, you're spending a lot of time answering emails and you're more of a talker. Let's find someone to help you there so we can focus on what you're great at. So, it's always a balancing act of finding out people's strengths and weaknesses, how to help them when where they're deficient or where they need assistance, and then how to lift them up and focus on what they're good at. I
Mhm.
don't like focusing. We all have shit that we need to get better at, but why are you going to keep focusing on where someone is not good when every human has qualities that make them a rock star and make them unique? And so I choose to focus there. And it's the same thing on the sports field. I wasn't fast. I am so good with my stick work and my strategy and my timing of where to be. I was never going to get fast. If I had a coach that just focused on Danielle Slow, I would never play Division 1 sports. They're not going to make me faster, but why not work on everything that I'm incredible at and make me even better in those areas? So I apply that in leadership as well.
Great. Let's go back to when you're hiring someone. What do you look for that helps you get a sense of their strengths and also what their potential contributions could be to the team? And then a final thing is what would be a red flag for you that would cause you to say, this person's not right for our team?
Your energy introduces you when you walk into the room before you open your mouth. So I can feel people instantly. The second someone, like when we met, I instantly knew you were the sweetest soul ever, like really good intentions, authentic. I can feel that. People that are good in interviews have a way with words to make you convinced that there's something they're not. So I really try to take a couple seconds in the middle, like the second the person walks in the door or on the phone, and breathe and feel into how I feel initially, like that first 3 seconds, because that's the energy that this person's all about. There can be people that have tons of potential, but if energetically we're not a match, we're not on the same page, like that's going to drain me and I don't want to have to deal with that. But if someone inspires me to want to talk to them, to want to work with them, to want to learn more, it's worth the conversation of exploring now skill sets and ability. So, number one is energy. Am I feeling it? Am I excited? Am I inspired? I am not hiring someone that just checks the boxes of what I think I need. I want to really be excited to work with someone. Um, I don't really read resumes that much. Like, anyone can make, I can make anyone look incredible on paper, I used to do it for myself according to the job I wanted. I could get any job because I knew how to make a resume look great. And I can make any incredible candidate look like crap on a resume too. So I really try to have more of an informal conversation to get to know and to figure it out. Does this person see the glass half full or half empty? Are they going to be willing to try anything? How quick, if something goes wrong, are they going to be able to pivot with the team and not complain and bitch about it? Because I have no patience for negativity. I mean, we all have days, but like how quick can you get over it and see a bad situation as potential to pivot and do something better? Are they willing to try new things? People that are stuck in their ways that have 30 years of experience, but I've always done it this way. Like, there's no way I would have a conversation with that person. So I look at energetically if it's a match, passion, and do I trust that person? Do I trust what they're telling me? And do I trust their self awareness? I would say self awareness is huge for me.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. It's interesting. How do you go about determining if someone does have a high level of self-awareness or not? Is it things that they say, words that they use, or experiences they share?
Yeah, you can tell the way they talk about situations at work, previous employers, what they do on their free time. You know, what kind of questions they're asking me. Is it scripted? Are they asking me what I want, they think I want to hear, or are they genuinely asking me because it's a good question and they're curious? I can gauge people really well. Again, I think that's part of the superpower of being dyslexic. You have to figure people out really quickly before they judge you, is kind of
Mhm.
like the way you survive when you're growing up. Um, so I don't like a yes person. I do not like someone that's kissing my tush to try to please me, because I want someone to inspire me to be better, to challenge me appropriately if they think that there's a different or way of doing something. If someone's yesing me all the time, how am I going to grow? So I am constantly working on becoming a better version of myself. And the people I hire, I want to do that too. Whatever that means, whether it's yoga, sports, trying to set boundaries and trying to be a better parent and have boundaries between work life and family life, whatever it is. But if that person hints around that they're trying to always grow and learn and be better, that's inspiring to me.
Well, it's obvious you have always been one of these lifelong learners looking to grow and learn yourself, and I can relate to that. And also that you would value having around you other people with that same approach, because I know I've been around people that are very happy to be where they are and don't see any need to change. But I am energized by people like you're describing, like yourself, who are always wanting to get different perspectives, different ideas. One of the things I know you do as a leader is when you hire somebody, you're not just keeping them comfortable. You're always encouraging them to push their own capabilities and their own boundaries. And I think this is something often because other leaders, managers get very busy with what they're doing, and they may not have the conscious intent of doing that the way you do. And I think this could be really valuable for my listeners to get a sense of how do you go about stretching people, and not only stretching them, but getting them to believe they're capable of doing whatever it is you're challenging them to do.
Again, I lead by example. And if you asked me this question 10, 15 years ago, it would be look really different. Because in that time when we were new to building Fet Tech, I wanted it so badly and money was so tight and I was pushing really hard and trying to push to where I thought in my head we needed to be, instead of trusting that if I have the right intentions and I take the right next step, it's going to play out the way it's supposed to play out. And I had to do a lot of internal digging because there was a period where I wasn't happy and I wasn't satisfied and I went to bed crying all the time and I was breaking out and I was gaining weight and the stress of the world and the pressure was literally killing me. And I had to really dig deep into faith and say, you know what, if I don't enjoy the ride, my life's going to be over and I'm going to look back and be like, oh, great. Like I built a company and I help patients, but like, could I have done it better? And so now my motto is enjoy the ride. I used to be the personality that I needed to feel good. This little girl inside me needed to prove, like, look what I did, look what I accomplished. And now I cherish if I can be more at peace during the day, if energetically I feel good during the day. Like I'm just looking at my life differently than I ever have. My team senses that. So, if we don't sell as much as I want in a day, that's not where my focus is at all. It's more like, okay, it wasn't meant to happen today, but let's ask the team, are we doing everything we can to properly educate and support the clinicians that need help? Is there anything we could do that you think that they need that we could serve better? And just changing my perception. When you lead like that and you're always trying to make yourself better and your employees can feel that, I think it trickles down and they want to make themselves better. We don't just have conversations about work. When we have a call, I designate like 10 minutes to let's talk about some fun things or inspiring things, whether it's a book we're reading, an astrology chart, a new app we're into, a podcast that was inspiring. It's not really planned, but I do try and take 5 to 10 minutes like that and then get into the work because it just creates a better, more fun environment. Like life should be fun. So I really encourage everyone always working on identifying how can I do this better, not just for work, but for yourself, because you owe it to yourself to invest the time to be the happiest, best version of yourself.
Mhm. Well,
And
one of the
happy
things,
employees perform better.
yes, yes. And one of the things that I know you do is you are good at, because you just mentioned how good you are at reading people, you're also good at discovering their strengths. And again, this isn't something everyone focuses on, but it's so important in drawing out the very best. What are some of the things you do to find out what each person's unique strengths are?
I can observe pretty quickly and find out people's strengths. But once I hire them, it usually takes like a couple months of like settling in. Like it's not like I just push them right away. I ease them into it and then I just see what naturally flows and where someone's really good. So I have a gentleman that's on our team that didn't want to step on toes. That had really great ideas, but didn't necessarily want to step on toes right away. So I really encourage, can I hear what some of your ideas are? And really tried to nurture. You have great ideas that I'm not thinking of. I would love for you to share those more frequently with me so that we can act on them and really spend one-on-one time in a safe place, like not putting them on spot in front of everyone, just saying, okay, let's talk through some of your ideas and see how we can implement. Let's choose one to work on. And then that builds the confidence to do, the next best project and the next one. And now this individual is on their own making suggestions. So it's a beautiful thing. But it's also a blessing and a curse to be so empathic and be able to identify people's strengths and weaknesses because some of the weaknesses I can feel and that person may not know I feel them. You know, um so whether it's an insecurity like a jealousy thing, or I did have a people pleaser that would tell me one thing and tell my husband something else because that's what they thought we wanted to hear. And it didn't come from a malicious bad place. My employees are like hearts of gold, but it does take patience and like detective work to try to figure out and ask, okay, people react based on fear. If people get angry, it's fear based. We all have stories. So there's something in this person's childhood or in their journey that made them fearful of something. And although I'm not a psychologist and I'm not an HR director, it's my obligation as a leader, if I want someone to be the best version of themselves, to identify this is a weakness and how do I best deal with it so it doesn't affect myself and the team. Because I can feel that when someone gets jealous or when someone is unhappy, they don't need to express it to me. I can feel it. And I had to learn how to not hold that in, but to have a really friendly conversation up front and say, hey, I've noticed this. And the timing's everything. But usually it's like, I care about you and this is what I've noticed. And it makes me feel uneasy for you and for the team. let's talk through this, and although that's uncomfortable for me, like that's where I'm trying to push myself. If I really care about them, I'll be honest because it will help them grow too. So I have to remind myself that if it's coming from a place of love. When I have a situation that's uncomfortable at work, Danielle would rather avoid it and move on. I'm conflict avoidant to a fault. Um, but every time I handle it head on, I reflect back. I'm like, wow, I feel so much lighter. I feel so much better. And I know that person benefits too.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said coming from a place of love because I think that that makes all the difference in how whatever we say and how we show up is perceived.
Mm-hmm.
If people sense that coming from that place of love, what does that look like to you? What does that mean to you when you're coming from a place of love with someone?
I never want someone to feel like I'm tearing them down or I'm nitpicking at details to make them feel badly about themselves. I mean, that's the worst feeling ever. So I have to remind that person that we're working together because I see something so special in you and I value you. I mean, if my employees were talking behind my back and someone ever said that they didn't feel valued and appreciated and needed, I would cry. Like that would break my soul because that's my number one purpose as a leader is I want my people to really feel like they're valued and important because I didn't always feel like that. And I hated that feeling and it made me want to find the next best job. So when I hire, I want lifers. I know that's not always possible, but I love my work family and as dysfunctional as it can feel at times, like any family has its ups and downs. I want to grow. I want to invest time and I want them to feel loved and respected. But with that also comes honest conversations, like parenting. Like the discipline part of parenting is not fun. When your kids act out or do something you don't want them to do, that's not the fun part about parenting. Going to the movies, going to ice cream, that's the fun part. Leadership's the same way. Uh, so I first start by reminding them all the reasons why I admire and respect and need them on my team, but then say something's making me feel uncomfortable. And even I'm honest. For me, having this conversation's not fun and not comfortable. This is what I've noticed. This is how I felt. I've thought about it for a long time. I thought about how approaching you because I don't want you to feel horrible about it. I just want us to learn and grow and operate from a different place moving forward. And recognizing you may not even be aware. I don't know if you're aware of these behaviors or not, but this is how it affects me. And this is how I'd rather interact moving forward.
Mm-hmm. No, I have to think that a person can receive your feedback more easily when you acknowledge to them, this isn't easy for me, or I'm uncomfortable sharing this. It kind of diffuses whatever defensiveness they might have if they feel you being vulnerable and honest and open up front. Do you see that in the way people respond to your conversations?
Oh, absolutely. And then I have to remind my goal was not for you to feel guilty. I mean, that's never, I mean, often, I've had employees where there's tears on the phone or they hang up like I've really thought about this and I'm so sorry. I mean, this is not I'm sorry conversation or I want you to feel badly. This is called we're human and I want to learn and grow together. And there's been times working for others that if they were just direct and came from a place of love and talked to me instead of, you know, doing whatever was going on behind the scenes, like it would have been a much nicer environment. I wouldn't have left that company.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to feel attacked or like you can't trust the person that's your director. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
gross feeling.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of your former bosses. Some of them, I'm sure, inspired you, and then others, as you say, caused you to leave, or if not that immediate boss, the surrounding environment. But thinking of your past bosses that didn't come from a place of love, that didn't serve you well, what were some of the behaviors that they engaged in that were either off-putting or really damaging potentially?
Well, I've had such a wide range of crappy managers in my career. Um, the worst is the ones that all they care about is themselves and moving up the corporate ladder, and that they're using you as a pawn in chess to just get ahead, and you can feel that, and they will do whatever it takes to climb up the ropes, to get a better title, to make more money at your disposal, and you can feel that. So that's the worst manager that I worked for, that I knew that I was just a number. It was all lip service. They were pushing me, not caring about the patient, the doctor, and whatever it took to get ahead so that we generated more sales so they'd get a higher paid position. That's the worst. Um, but there were also managers that I liked on a personal level, but I didn't feel safe working under them because they weren't an advocate for me. I wanted my boss, if corporate was making a decision, and I'm like, well, this is what I'm hearing and seeing, and can you go back to corporate and tell them, like, maybe if we did it this way or that way, it'd be advantageous in this why, and they wouldn't represent you, and they wouldn't explain to you why they're saying no. There's nothing worse. It's like a kid. If you just say no, 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 I want to know why. If you explain to me why, it would make sense. There was times like I wanted a marketing brochure to educate better, and the answer was no. But no one ever told me, well, it would take a year in regulatory, and we'd have to hire 7 attorneys, and it would cost $1 million, and the return on investment wouldn't be enough. Like that, I would have been cool with that answer. But I think your employees deserve to understand so they can make better decisions, work decisions. And if they're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes in corporate, there's such a disconnect that the sales and marketing usually can't stand corporate, and corporate doesn't understand sales. And there's just a huge disconnect between departments. One of the things I loved working with my husband is that when I met him, I'm like, wow, if I would have known all the stuff that goes behind the scenes, I would have had a different appreciation for why they told me I had to do things a certain way, and vice versa. He thought I'm doing all the work, and then all you have to do is look cute and go to a hospital and sell it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Now he knows, like, the amount of detail and clinical presentations. It's like a year sales cycle, and all the different people you have to go to talk and educate on a product before you can get it into the hospital. It's a huge deal. So what I'm trying to say is, the more communication and understanding, you may not need to know what the different roles do, but you need to have an appreciation for the other roles to be able to have that respect to move coherently as and organized as
Mhm.
corporate.
Yeah. So when you think back on the really great bosses you had, my guess is some of the lessons you took away from them, you use today with your own team members.
My favorite
One
boss
or
I
two,
always shout
do
out
one or
was,
I'm sorry, what?
I was gonna say, my favorite boss I ever had was David Graziano, and I put him on a pedestal. He was the first individual I worked for that had a clinical background. So even though he was a big time sales director at huge pharmaceutical companies, and he was a meek and mild man, the first person I worked for that didn't have a huge ego, and he cared so much about the people that reported to him. I could feel it. I knew it. And he would appropriately go to bat for us when we had suggestions or we needed help. But he had a beautiful way of being so honest and direct with us. But I can remember sitting in meetings and being like, wow, I want to be like that one day. I had early on in my career the mentality of I have to prove myself, the dyslexia background, I'm not good enough. So wanting to prove myself. But I watched him in a room full of very opinionated people, and he would listen a lot. And when he spoke, it was meaningful. Each word mattered, and everyone was quiet and listened. Where when a lot of other leaders spoke, you could tell it was in and out of everyone's head. Like no one was really listening. It was lip service. I had such respect for him. And I have ADD. So when he spoke, the way I listened to him, I'm like, I want to be like that. That when I lead and speak, I have something meaningful to say, and people will respect and trust what I'm saying. He, again, would admit if he didn't know something. He would go to the appropriate person to find out the answers. So we just felt so good that, and even the things he didn't know, like I came from a different background than most. I came from the OR where the other reps and managers didn't have my background. He would ask so many questions to learn my point of view and to learn my experience, and then incorporate that into a bigger, better plan. So he was very open to doing things better and different. A lot of people, corporate America, are stuck in their ways. They've been doing it the same way and they expect robots. He didn't like robots. He liked everyone unique. And I loved him. And our time was cut very short because the company got acquired. But I learned more from him in 6 months than managers I'd worked with for 5, 6 years.
Mm. There's so many things you just described about him. And one of the things I loved the best or most was when you were talking about he would listen. And so asking questions, I think, is such a powerful skill for leaders to get input from others rather than being the first to speak and trying to persuade others of your point of view. Because, of course, everybody's paying attention to that leader's perspective. And if it's revealed too soon, then everybody tends to frame their responses based on how well it fits in with that perspective.
Hmm.
Whereas if you have it open ended initially, then by the time you've integrated and heard everything from everybody and you speak, like you said, people listened to what he said because it's a real skill. And it's not one that every leader has, but it's one we can all work on. Is this
Hmm.
ability to really hear and synthesize what people have said and then to be able to articulate that in a way that everyone who spoke feels like they were heard.
Yes. Yeah. He was very, very special. And I'm very fortunate that I had him because, like I said, I had a lot of crappy leaders, like one after the next. But again, leadership is not for everyone. You know, like you could be a great athlete, but that doesn't mean you should be a coach. It's the same thing with leadership. You could be great in your craft, but that doesn't mean that you're good with people. It doesn't mean you lead with empathy and you care deeply about others. I think caring and being passionate towards others and yourself is really important in leadership.
Mhm. Well, Danielle, as we're kind of wrapping things up, I would love for you to share anything else that might occur to you about leadership, what you've learned, what you feel is important in your own role as a leader that we haven't talked about yet.
I think listening to your emotions, our emotions are our guidance system. And there's a lot of times in leadership where you think you know where you want to go in life. You think you know where you want to be. And we muscle through how we feel. And if you're uneasy about something or you're excited or scared, whatever it is, you need to pause and really feel into that. Because the one thing I've learned the hard way is that when you rush or get excited and make a decision when you're emotional, whether you're on a hot excited or when you're bummed out, you can make a decision that's not in your best interest. And cleaning up after making a poor decision is the most painful thing ever. So I've really learned to pause and make sure the next day I feel the way I did like when my initial
Mm,
reaction occurred. And that pause in leadership is everything, whether it's replying to a text message, whether it's making a business like contract decision. I really have learned to pause and listen to how I feel. And if I'm inspired and excited today, let's see how I feel tomorrow. Because I'm an all or nothing person. I think a lot of leaders like to execute quickly. So I've had to learn to slow down, pause, and listen to myself. And in listening to myself, I'm just going to take it one step further. I'm a huge believer in that you have to be the leader of your own health. So, what I want the audience to take away is you have to trust your intuition that if something feels off, even if you've gone to 5 healthcare providers that say you're wrong, you're not wrong. You just haven't found the right person. Because what happens inside of us is um, illness, sickness, it manifests slowly over time until something is so big that you're forced to listen. And healthcare providers are really busy and stretched thin. So even though healthcare can feel a little broken right now, if you are not your own advocate and speak up and lead your own health, you're going to find yourself in trouble because people are very busy in healthcare. So not only do you want to lead your people and your company well, but you want to be the leader of yourself and your health well. I always say, Maria Menounos says this, be the CEO of your own health. And I think that's
mm,
the most important thing because if you're not healthy, emotionally, spiritually, you know, mentally, physically, like you can't expect to lead others if you don't put your oxygen mask on first. So that's huge advice to people.
it's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're doing in your work and just who you are as a person, as a leader. It's so great, Danielle. The people on your team are lucky to get to be on your team and get to work with you on a regular basis. Please share how people can connect with you and learn more about your work at VetTech.
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Danielle Fette. And then FetTech is our company, FETTECH.com. And from there, you can find out more about our products. And if you're interested, you can write in requesting some more information.
That's great. Thanks again, Danielle, for being with me today. I loved our conversation, and I know my listeners have benefited from it as well.
Oh, good. That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to my podcast. Now head over to growstrongleaders.com and check out the powerful tools we've created to help leaders strengthen their character and communication skills. Until next time, I'm Meredith Bell.